The details behind the hiring of the ICE agent who allegedly shot and killed 25-year-old Joan Sebastien Guerrero get worse as the days go by, if you can stand it. Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you're watching the MeidasTouch Network. The more I find out about 37-year-old David Brouilleite, the ICE agent who was identified as Johan's killer by one of Brouilleite's two ex-wives, the more my mouth just drops at the stunning amount of negligence in our whole system that led to the death of an innocent 25-year-old father. A now second ex-wife of Brouilleite's released a statement to the press earlier this week, in part of which says, and this is from the Portland Press Herald, "If you were to ask me whether I believe David Brouilleite is capable of this level of extreme violence, my answer is unequivocally yes," Lucinda Brouilleite wrote. "That belief is not based on speculation, but on my own lived experiences over many years," she said. "I have feared for a long time that his anger, aggression, and escalating behavior would eventually result in severe, life-threatening violence, and I often believed I would be the one on the receiving end of it." She goes on to say, "He frequently portrayed himself as someone who could manipulate people, deceive others, and stay in control of difficult situations. Whether those statements reflected reality or were intended to intimidate me, they contributed to an environment of fear that made it even harder for me to believe I could safely stand up to him." According to court records that the Portland Press Herald pulled, Lucinda Brouilleite and David have been involved in family court disputes for years, and Lucinda says that David used his years on the local police force and as a member of the Department of Health and Human Services to get judges to rule against her in many of those cases. And just this past week, Lucinda asked for a protective order for her and her daughter from a Kennebunk court, but she was denied. And this is after he allegedly shot and killed Joan Guerrero. Now, it was Brouilleite's first wife, Ashley, who first publicly identified him because she said that David called her after he shot and killed Joan Guerrero looking for her help.
And then he's like, "Well, I need you to lie about my character because this is what it comes down to is my character. I don't want you talking about any of the abuse in our relationship. Like, this is literally about me, Ashley." I told him that I was not going to lie for him, that I've waited years to speak my truth. I've been silenced long enough, and now I need to come out with everything because a man lost his life. It was abuse, not only to me, but to our daughter. And even being divorced from him, I've dealt with harassing phone calls, threats of him wanting to kill me. I believe that this man was murdered. I believe that David's mental health played a part in what happened. I think what happened was he was standing there during that operation, had a PTSD moment, and hit fight or flight mode. And unfortunately, a man lost his life due to it.
Ashley also shared a voicemail with several members of the press that David apparently left her. I'll read it to you. This is from the AP. In late 2025, around the time he joined ICE, his ex-wife Ashley said he left a 3-minute voicemail mocking her for taking out a restraining order against him. According to the message she shared with the Associated Press, he repeatedly called her, quote, "disgusting," and suggested that she and her other female members of her bloodline should die. Quote, "All of you should have your effing throats cut," the voicemail said. "Yeah, you should. Am I threatening that I'm going to do that? Nope. But do I think you should have your effing throats cut or should have them cut? Yep." Yet another immediate relative of David's, who was too afraid of retaliation to be identified, said that David suffered extreme mental illness as a child, tried suicide twice, and was enchanted by law enforcement and the military. When he was initially rejected by military recruiters because of his mental health diagnosis, he was encouraged to go off of his meds for a year and then reapply, which he did, according to this relative, and then was able to enlist. That's unbelievable to me. A very mentally unwell person is encouraged by military recruiters to go off their medication so that he can then enlist in our warfighting force. Whoa. He's now in protective custody that we are paying for thanks to the bloated ICE budget that our Congress has passed. And speaking of, it turns out that even though these ICE agents were wearing body cameras, none of them were turned on and operational. According to stunning reporting from The Intercept, ICE agents have admitted to their reporters that they are just wearing these body cameras because of the Axon contract, but that the cameras aren't actually operational. What? They're using them for internal microphones, but not as cameras. This is insane. This is negligence. This is bananas. But conveniently, the Trump regime just made a whopping $220 million request for Axon stun guns via Axon right after Donald Trump purchased $5 million in shares in that company. Can you smell the corruption? Congress has already appropriated $20 million for body cams, but half of the agents are not using operational body cameras. Senator Ed Markey of Massachusetts went to investigate the ICE facility in Scarborough, Maine. Here's what he found.
Here in Scarborough, Maine, I'm about to visit an ICE facility in the aftermath of the killing of Juan Guerrero by ICE agents.
When? Yes, I'm United States Senator Ed Markey from the state of Massachusetts. Under the United States Code, I am allowed to be able to make an inspection of an ICE facility without any notice under the statute, which gives any member of Congress the authorization to visit an ICE facility without any notice. So it could be a full and clear examination of conditions as they exist without any preparation by ICE officers.
Checking back in much later in the day in Biddeford, I was let into the ICE facility in Scarborough this afternoon, and I want to tell you about what I heard. First, ICE confirmed that the officer who shot Joan Guerrero worked with them at this facility in Scarborough. They also confirmed that they have no body cameras and they do no training at this facility in Maine. Congress has given ICE billions of dollars. Where is it going? My visit in Scarborough confirmed we need to abolish ICE now and end qualified immunity in order to hold ICE accountable.
If you are not furious about the grift that is going on with our taxpayer dollars, I don't know what to tell you. This whole ICE thing is one big murderous, blood-dripping grift for these people in power, these criminals, to get rich off of our country's collective trauma and off of brown-skinned people's deaths. And I personally agree, this is my opinion now, not my reporting, that qualified immunity needs to go a long time ago, because the only thing that it ever results in are corrupt law enforcement members getting away with literal murder. Seriously. Now, Johan's partner has retained prominent Portland area attorney Benjamin Gideon, who says he plans to file a federal lawsuit against the government, as well as a civil lawsuit for the repeated negligence in the hiring practices that led to David Brouilleite's hiring as an ICE agent.
Joan Sebastien was the victim of policies and a culture of our federal government that treat deaths like this of innocent persons as a necessary cost of doing business. In other words, as collateral damage.
And as a final palate cleanser, I will leave you all with this. The New York Times reported earlier this week that internal FBI communications are dictating to FBI managers that FBI agents will no longer investigate ICE confrontations. Although publicly, senior officials are denying this. Of course they are, because we're dealing with the Trump regime. I reached out to Minnesota and Maine investigators, as well as prosecutors' offices, including attorneys general, to ask them about this alleged situation with the FBI. And they all responded that they are proceeding with their investigations as normal and are continuing to work, quote, cooperatively with their federal partners. My question is, will their federal partners continue to cooperate and work with them? I guess we're going to find out now, aren't we? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. I'd love to hear. All right, peace out.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.